motivates students to carry out beneficial academic activities for their future. I also want to express my deepest gratitude to the great committee. Why great? Well, this webinar is the same as the previous SRS-TEFLIN seminars, using the concepts of from students, by students, and for students. It is an extraordinary multitasking for all students who registered as students at master degree. They are students who are taking language and literature course taught by Professor Rhahima and Ibu Sari Silviani, PhD. And the students serve as committee members, host, moderator, presenters, and participants as well. They really do apply their skills in the learning in the 21st century. They collaborate, they communicate, they think critically, and also are creative to organize this webinar. I would like to thank to the seminar participant this morning. You are very great because today you should be relaxing with your family, but you are here in our webinar. So it is a great honor from us. Yeah. It is a great honor for us as the organizer of the webinar. Well, it is such kind of academic entertainment. Well, a great webinar attendee. This SRS-TEFLIN collaborates with graduate schools of Sriwijaya University to conduct webinar series which presents various kinds of topics regarding English language teaching and education, of course. Yeah. So there are 5 webinar series launched since yesterday. And today is the second English language teaching webinar with the topic teaching material development needs assessment, and the presenters will be Sinta, Praisa, Anisa, and Ummy. Since they focus their research on vocational school, it doesn't mean that the contents of their presentation is only appropriate for vocational schools. In general, material development is needed in all kinds and levels of education. It means that the material development is also needed at primary school, junior high school, and senior high school. One of the development is by inserting local culture in it. Your own local culture, of course, yeah. It was also strengthened by some international experts in our field, yeah, language education, that local culture can be developed as one of the learning materials in language. Well, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the webinar participant, that's all from me. Thank you so much for your great attention and welcome to join the webinar. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Ibu Dr. Rita Indrawati, MPD, for the warm welcome. And the next welcoming remark is from the Language Education Study Program Coordinator at KIP Unsri, Bapak Sony Mirizen, EDD. To Bapak Sony Mirizen, EDD, please.
Okay, thank you, Rizky Aginia. All right. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, respected TEFLIN, SRS-TEFLIN Coordinator, Professor Rhahima Dahlandim, respected Dr. Rita Indrawati, as one of our senior lecturers in the Master Degree of Language Education at KIP Unsri, also respected Ibu Sari Silviani, PhD, and the teams who are actively working for SRS-TEFLIN activities. Okay, good morning, everyone. And also one more, respected attendees of this webinar today in the second webinar. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm happy that you are here in the second graduate student webinar, which will discuss about teaching material development, need analysis. Okay, as the head of the master degree in language education program, I am surely happy with this, and I just like to deliver a short welcoming to everybody here. Okay, first of all, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the coordinator of South Sumatran region of TEFLIN, Professor Rhahima, yeah, for her continuous dedication toward English education in Southern Sumatra region through her ideas and leadership in the Southern region of Sumatra TEFLIN activities. Next, certainly to the presenters today, to Praisa, Jopalina, S.Pd, Anisa, Rhahima, S.Pd, Sinta, Octaviana, S.Pd, and Ummy, Wahyuni, S.Pd. I am very pleased that you are all motivated, and enthusiastic in sharing your knowledge related to the issues that you are going to present today. I also personally hope that with your experience in studying at the graduate degree and in preparing your research that will lead you to write your thesis would give you and the participants, especially the new graduate student, undergraduate student, and teacher of English, new insight and certainly some tips around current issues, discussed and debated in English language teaching. Also, to all the committee members of South Sumatran Region TEFLIN, I am also grateful for your commitment and hard work in making this webinar and other webinars, under the South Sumatran Region TEFLIN. And last but not least, to the attendees, to all the participants, I wish you all good luck and please enjoy the second webinar today. I think that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Bapak Sony Mirizan, for the remarks. Now, it's time for me to let Riza Yoga Indriani, S.Pd, to take over the webinar as the moderator of the presentation session today. To Riza Yoga Indriani, S.Pd, the Zoom floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Rizky Aginia Hafiza as the host for the great introduction. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, allow me to welcome the presenters who will share their ideas, knowledges, and experiences with us today, and to everyone who participates in this webinar. I'm happy that you are here with us today at the second English Education Graduate Student ASKIP Untri webinar series in collaboration with SRS-TEFLIN 2020 with Team Teaching, Material Development, Needs Assessment. Before I introduce the presenters, I would like to explain some rules in this webinar. First, in order to receive a certificate, you need to fill out the attendance form we have shared in the chat box. The second, later on and at the end of presentation, we will provide the exit ticket in the form of feedback for all of you to fill out. Then you can get a certificate a week after the webinar. Third, after all presenters have presented, you may type your question and for whom your question given in the Q&A box, and we will discuss the question after we finish all presentation. And fourth, each presenter only has 30 minutes for sharing and presenting the materials. Okay, now it's time to begin our first session, and I'm honored to welcome the first presenter, Praisa Jopalina, S.Pd. with title Reading Materials for Vocational High School. What should 21st century teachers of English do? For Praisa, the Zoom floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much for the moderator as for the chance. Okay, now I would like to share my PowerPoint. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, very clear.
Not sure.
Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I'm Praisa Jopalina. I would like to discuss about my topic. The title is Reading Materials for Vocational High School and What Should 21st Century Teachers of English Do? This is the outlines of my presentation. The first one, introduction, English in Vocational High School, ESP, need analysis. What should 21st century teachers of English do? The empirical research, the principles of teaching English in ESP, reading materials for vocational high school, and the last is how local culture incorporated in 21st century based language teaching. The first one, what is vocational high school? Okay, as we know that vocational high school is a school in which people or students learn how to do a job that require the specific skills. It is supported by Atmaja and also Marpanaji 2016 and also Indria Turahmi and Sudianto 2016. They said that vocational high school is a formal educational institution which equips the students with a certain skills and also prepare them to be able to work in accordance with the demand of the business and also industry world. As we know that there are a lot of the program in vocational high school, for example, mechanical engineering and also multimedia, computer and networking, accounting, marketing, tours and travel study program. So there are so many study program in vocational high school. According to OECD 2017, the countries can gain the comparative advantages in industries if countries' skill characteristics are closely aligned with the industry's requirement. And it is related to the National Education Ministry Regulation of Indonesia number 20, 2016. The graduates of the vocational high school itself should be ready and qualified enough to jump to the working field. So the vocational high school students should have the good competitive skill in order to compete to other people in the working field. Next, English in vocational high school. English in vocational high school is categorized as English for specific purposes or ESP according to Richard 2001. What is ESP? ESP here means that an approach, ESP here means that an approach used by the teacher in language teaching, which is related to the content and also method. The content and method are based on the learner's need, according to Hutchinson and also Waters 1987. Need analysis. What is need analysis? Need analysis here as the activities in gathering information to serve as the beginning for developing a curriculum that meets the learning needs of a particular groups of students. So here, what's the students' need or what's the learner's need here? Here, the students' learning needs, including learning inputs, teaching learning procedures, teachers and learners' role, and also teaching learning setting according to Mahbub 2018. Okay, let me inform you about learning input first. The first one is learning input. learning input here means that students need the English teaching materials that related to their expertise, so they can easy to get the information, or they can easy to understand the material, especially for English teaching materials. And then the second one is teaching learning procedures. What does it mean? Teaching learning procedures means that the activity of the students in teaching and learning process. So, for example, what the students need to do in accordance with the input. So, as we know that there are 4 basic skills in English. The first one, speaking. Second one, listening, reading, and writing. So, from the Mahbub data, he got that the information the students prefer to learn dialogue and also answering some questions. So they want in listening, they prefer to use the dialogue and also answering some questions. And also for the speaking, the students prefer to learn role play and also practice the dialogue and also the monologue. For the reading, the students prefer to find the meaning from the text and also find the meaning of the vocabulary in the text, and also answer the questions from the text. And the last one is for writing. The students prefer to completing gaps in the sentence, arranging the jumble sentence to be a text too. So completing gaps in the sentence and also arranging the jumble sentence to be text. Okay, next is teachers and learners role. Here, the students prefer if their teachers be a motivator and also facilitator for them. So the teacher can motivate the students if they have difficulty in learning English, and teacher can facilitate their students to give some information, some interesting information. And then for the learner's role itself, they prefer to be an active students in teaching and learning process. It means that they are not only a good listener, but also they want to be a good performer too. And the last one is teaching learning setting. Teaching learning setting here means that students prefer to have a group discussion when doing a teaching and learning process. So when the teacher gives the task in the classroom, they want to have a group discussion. Maybe they will discuss something. If they don't know something, they can ask their friends. Maybe they will not be shy if they ask the students first. Yeah. Next, the empirical research. According to Mahbub, 2018 said that English materials for vocational high school students are general English. It means that vocational high school material for vocational high school same as senior high school students, as we know that senior high school students is specialized to continue their study in the higher education. Meanwhile, the vocational high school is specialized to give them preparation to have the good competency in order to compete to other people in getting a job later on. And according to Rahman 2017 argues that learning materials which are appropriate to learners' needs are not always available in the textbook. And according to Basela 2016, vocational English textbook is lack of authenticity. Next, what should 21st century teachers of English do? So what we have to do as an English teacher? If you are an English teacher in vocational high school, you have to provide the appropriate materials. So what the good materials for them? So we can provide something that related to their major, related to their major. Why? Because if we give the materials related to their major, the vocational high school students will have the good English competency. Well, according to Hutchinson and Water 2006, there are some principles of teaching materials in ESP. Okay, the first one is provide a stimulus to learning. Provide a stimulus to learning means that the material are expected to give a good effect in encouraging students' motivation to learn. Good materials will consist of interesting texts, enjoyable activities, and opportunities for the learners to use their background knowledge. In other words, teaching materials should be synchronized with their field study, and it can create a warm interaction whole teaching learning process. For example, a teacher gives the brainstorming, which relate to the students' field study, and making a warm interaction while teaching and learning process. Okay. For the second principle is how to organize teaching learning process. So here, materials help to organize the teaching learning process by providing a suitable way to learn the complex language. The material should be a bridge for the learners to reach the learning objectives. So the material is also arranged structurally to help the teacher in delivering the materials. Avoiding the difficulties and confusing in developing material should be done by the teacher in order to create a useful material. So in addition, teaching material should be useful in increasing students' achievement and also students' language skills. The third one is use nature of language and learning. So here, materials should point to the nature of the language and learning. So when the teacher creates teaching materials, teachers is expected to hold the pure of language learning. So it helps the students to communicate in the workplace naturally and pay attention to the student's skill in learning language. Next, provide nature of learning task. Here, the material reflects to the nature of the learning task. So the material should be able to fix with level knowledge of the students. Task of learning not only focus on writing text which relate to the example or drill to practice it, but also force to create a new topic in writing or new dialogue for practice. So in addition, teaching material also provides a clearly example to make the students more understanding. The next one is broadening the teacher's knowledge. So material does not only focus on improving the students' need, but also expect to improve the teacher's knowledge also. For example, a teacher should master a new topic before the teacher deliver the materials to the students in a classroom by looking for many sources to support the teaching materials and apply a new technique that's suitable with teaching materials and learners' ability. And the last one is provide correct and appropriate language use. Here, material should provide models of correct and appropriate language use. The materials should be arranged as well as possible in order to help the learners more attraction. In other words, the material should consist of discourse meaning of vocabulary that relate to the student's field study. Next, reading materials for vocational high school. As we know that there are 4 basic skills in English, speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And why reading? Why I choose reading here? Because reading, It's the ability for the someone to understand the meaning or to get the information. So if the someone reads something, they will find the new information, and also it can make the students it can make the students easy to join teaching and learning process. So having a good reading skill also can help the students gain the information needed for the purpose of their academic related to their field of study. Okay, there is an issue from API or English Proficiency Index and showed that the reading literacy of Indonesian students in 2016 until 2018 has decreased. The first one in 2016, Indonesia was at the 32nd out of 72 countries with the score 52.94, and it was categorized moderate proficiency. And continue to the 2017, Indonesia's position was at the 39th out of 80 countries, and the score was 52.15, which was categorized as low proficiency. And in 2018, the data showed that Indonesian English proficiency was at the 51st rank out of 88 countries, with the score only 51.58, and it was categorized as low proficiency. Here the example of reading materials in vocational high school textbook. So I take the picture from the government's book, and then here's the example of reading text. And the basic competence is for descriptive text. You can see that this book use the topic or use the material Taj Mahal. As we know that Taj Mahal is come from India. So why don't we use our own culture itself? For example, when we are in Indonesia, we use our Indonesian culture, or it would be better if we use Palembang culture, for example, not Taj Mahal, but maybe Emperor Bridge, so or other historical places. Okay, next. For the left one, you can see that visiting Niagara Falls. Okay, as we know that maybe that students are not familiar enough with Niagara Falls. So how about if we change the text with, for example, Bedegung Waterfall? Maybe they are familiar with that. As we know that Bedegung Waterfall, Bedegung in Tanjung Enim, South Sumatra. So maybe they have visited Bedegung. And for the right one, Isumbosi. Isumbosi here, the kinds of the narrative text, and Isumbosi here, text from Japan. Yeah, it would be better if we change it from our local story. So there are so many interesting local story from South Sumatra especially. Okay, the effective instructional materials in language teaching are shaped by considering three factors: teacher, learner, and also contextual variables. Contextual variables here means that it's relate to the student's real life. So the relate to the student's real life means that they are familiar with that. So I choose reading materials using the local culture. According to Octaviana, Indrawati, and Mirizan 2020, 21st century ESP reading materials should be based on the student's expertise. It means that we have to provide the reading text that related to the student's expertise. And then the second one, using the local culture. It means that we have to use our local culture in order to promote our local culture to other people. And then the last one, don't forget, because this 21st century means that we have to use the technology, the ICT. So we can use ICT in order to delivering the speech, or in order to delivering or explaining the materials in the classroom using in focus laptop. And also we can use our social media to share the information to other people. Next, how local culture incorporated in 21st century based language teaching. Here, according to Brown 1994, language is a part of the culture and the culture is a part of the language. So both of them are intricately interwoven. So how local culture incorporated in the 21st century based language teaching? As a teacher, we have to insert the information about our own local culture, such as traditional foods, things, or historical places, local stories in teaching English, especially for reading materials. Why? Because we will based on the government's rule that we have to promote our local culture to other people or even the world. Okay, this is the conclusion. The development of reading materials for vocational high school students by incorporating local culture and the use of ICT in 21st century vocational learning is needed because the purpose of teaching English in vocational high school must focus on preparing students to have certain skills by doing practicum activities according to their study program so that they can prepare themselves with good skills to compete in the world of work later. This is the references. Okay, I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much. And I give it back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you so much, Praisa, for presenting the great materials regarding reading materials development using local culture and the use of ICT in 21st century in vocational high school. Okay, before we are going to move to the second presenter, I will remind you again to fill out the Google form to record your attendance. And again, if you have questions, do not wait until the end of second presentation, but you can type it in Q&A box. Okay, all right. Let me continue to the second session and welcome to Anisa Rhahima, S.Pd. She will explain needs analysis in tourism vocational high schools, a framework for materials development. So for Anisa, please start your presentation. Zoom floor is yours.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you hear the voice and also see my presentation today? Riza?
Yes, Anisa. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Continue.
Okay, today I'm going to discuss the needs analysis of tourism vocational high school students, ESP, a framework for materials development. Why do we need to do needs analysis in developing the materials for the tourism vocational high school students? And actually, what happens to our vocational high school? Let's find them out through this discussion. Okay, here is the outline. But first, I'm going to talk about the ESP. What is ESP? ESP is an approach to the language teaching which aims to meet the needs of particular learners. This is what Hutchinson and also Waters 1987 said. So, ESP or English for Specific Purposes is very far from the approach of the English for General Purposes because the purpose of ESP itself is to teach the students to be able to use English language based on the students' need in learning the English language. That is why analyzing the needs of the students in ESP approach is a process that teachers should do in order to make the English learning more relevant to the students' need and also reveal any forms that were not found in any general English. So, the needs analysis is a process, but the question is, what kind of process need analysis is? Needs analysis is a complex process involving much more than simply looking at the learners what will have to do in the target situation. It is a complex process because we need to analyze not only the target situation needs, such as necessity, lacks, and wants, but we also need to analyze the learning needs, what the learner needs to do in order to learn, what kind of knowledge and abilities will the learners require in order to be able to perform to the required degree of competence. In developing the English materials for ESP approach, the teachers need to be ready to acknowledge what kind of English that students really need to learn, aligning with the program that they are in order to prepare the students, especially to the vocational high school students, with the appropriate English skills so that they are ready for the future work field. It is also in line with what our government said about the vocational high school. In Peraturan Pemerintah Nomor 66 Tahun 2010, our government said that vocational high school is a school which produces workers who are ready in the work field with the knowledge and skill to work. The next question is how? Now let's see what the vocational high school should be done based on our government and also based on the organization of the words. So, in Peraturan Pemerintah Nomor 66 Tahun 2010, our government already stated that the vocational high school must be preparing students with all the needs of it, such as the materials, tasks, activities, and also skills, based on the program competence to build up their potentials. Moreover, the UNESCO and also UNEVOC 2020 stated that specifically, vocational high school is on the concept of link and match. This concept highlights the needs to make vocational high school or SMK be able to prepare the students with relevant materials and tasks based on its programs by aligning them with the labor market needs. However, has this been running properly in the field or not? Now let's take a look at the fact. These are some of the facts that I found. The first one is from the research done by Ayu Utami, Harahap, and Syahrial 2018. Their study indicates that the students' needs in the learning material according to their vocation is not for unavailable needs are including the materials that contain more vocabulary related to the culinary. So it is still lack of the needs of the students. And Mahbub 2018 also found that the practice of English teaching seem not work effectively as they fail to meet the learners' expectation regarding to their target needs and their learning needs. Lestari 2019 also found that the ELT for EFL students vocational high school was better to consider a model of English for specific purposes than the general English ones because vocational high school was impossible could make revitalization through the bilingual system or the language aspect if the model of ELT was the same on each major, which were each major had different needs on all aspects. And in terms of English textbook, there is Azhar and Irmawati 2016 found that the English textbook that students use is SMKN 1 Bantaeng is the same with the students in the general high school. This is also supported from Astuti, who found that the English textbook used for the 10th graders is SMKN 1 Gombong, Yogyakarta was less than standardized English book and still about the general one, not contextual, and did not have specific English for the students of vocational high school. Okay, sorry. The last one is from Nuhamsi and Syahrial 2017. Also found that in analyzing the English textbook of vocational high school and found out that the language content in Bahasa Inggris kelas 11 SMA, SMA, MA, SMK, and MAK textbook published by Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan Republik Indonesia, revised in 2017, showed that the language content is categorized poor. It is probably because the textbook is not very well designed for the vocational high school, especially for tourism vocational high school, but more for SMA students or the general high school. So it is a pity that the textbook is also used to the vocational high school students. From the study, we can see the facts that in the field, the vocational high school, there are still some things that do not match, especially in EFL materials, with what is happening in the field and also what it should be done. Through it, should be a thick line between the vocational high school with the only general high school. We need to give a thick line because they are not the same as what Hutchinson's and also Waters said in here. What distinguishes ESP from the general English is not the existence of need as such, but rather an awareness of the needs. ESP courses are narrower in focus on general ELT course because they center on the analysis of the learner needs, and it is a course development process. This is why the need analysis is important part in designing the ESP materials. Okay, here, why needs analysis is important to do? Because it facilitates teachers in developing the appropriate teaching materials. It also helps vocational tourism students in assessing the specific language they need. And through the needs analysis, the teachers, the students, the teaching materials, and also the teaching procedures all can be connected in one to another. Okay, and now we come to my conclusion. The government, work organization, and experts have explained that vocational high school students must be prepared for the work field by giving the lesson that relevant with the programs. But the facts found in the field still lead the unfulfilled needs of the students in learning English, especially in EFL materials. Needs analysis give high priority to the English language learning needs, the needs of the students, and make vocational high school in the aspect of materials development more relevant to the students' needs. It also very recommended to develop teaching materials for vocational high school students by conducting needs analysis as a framework so that students' needs match with what the government, work organization, and expert have explained. Here, I also want to give some recommendation for us to do for the future practice and also for the future research. We can read more about the teaching material development, and also we can read more about the 21st century learning, as Praisa already said and mentioned and present before. And for future research, we can do the analyzing, we can do analyzing students' need in tourism vocational high school, and for the future research, we can do the development, the developing materials based on the students' need, also based on the 21st century learning. Okay, I think that's all for my presentation today. I will give it back to Riza as the moderator.
Okay, thank you so much for Anisa Rhahima for sharing in the second session. So before I continue and introduce the third presenter, let me remind the participants again. If you have questions, please type it in the Q&A box. And if you have not filled out the sentence form, please do it. And the feedback link will be shared at the end of presentation. So please stay with us until the end of presentation to get your certificate. Okay, welcome to the next presenter of the third session, Sinta Octaviana, S.Pd, and she will present Vocational High School Students Learning Needs on English subject, a literature review. So for Sinta, Time is yours. You can share your screen to us. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much to Riza as the moderator. So, good morning to you all. I'm so glad to
Morning.
present this material today to everybody, all the attendees and panelists here. Thank you for the chance that has been given to me. So, in this opportunity, I would like to present about vocational high school students' learning needs in English subject, a literature review. We know that English in today's era is really important parts, and we cannot neglect that everybody will need English, especially when they are going to a specific job or work. Well, if I say that English is important, of course it is not fair. So I'm going to launch a short polling, a quick poll to you all to get your side how important English is to you. Well, all participants can give your answer here. I will wait around 30 seconds to see your side about how important English to you in this era. As you know that English is international language that are used by people around the world. English is used is not only as a subject at school, but it is also needed in your daily life, right? So 30 seconds, I'll close the poll. Here is the result of the polling. Oh, sorry. Okay. Can I share the result? Okay. Yes. Let us see how important English is to all the participants here. Well, if we look at the result, then we can see here that 90% of all the participants here say that English is very important. So it is fairly said that everybody will need English in all their daily life. So that, what about the vocational high school? Well, although I'm talking about the vocational high school students' learning needs in English subjects, but hopefully this topic can be useful for everybody here because they think that English is important to them. Well, so I'm going to talk about 4 points here to highlight in my presentation today. So the first one, I will talk about the English in vocational high school. Second, I will talk a bit about the needs analysis itself. And the third point will be the vocational high school students' learning needs in English learning. And the last, I will talk about English materials and needs of workforce. Well, the first point to highlight here is English for vocational high school. How is actually the English vocational in vocational high school should be? So we know that the principle of this vocational high school student, they have the principle that is siap kerja, cerdas, and competitive. Therefore, as stated in the government regulation of the Republic of Indonesia, number 21 of 1990, concerning secondary education, chapter 1, general provisions, article 1, suggests that vocational high school will indeed focus on improving the expertise of students in a specific area. As we know that the vocational high school student has their own major, it is different from the senior high school students that learn all subjects and they do not focus on only specific subjects. Therefore, the orientation of the students after graduating from vocational high school is mostly getting a job related to their competency. So it is different from the senior high school students that mostly aim to go to the university or continuing their study after graduating from senior high school. Vocational high school student is preparing themselves to improve their skills and ready to work as the principal. Siap kerja, cerdas, dan kompetitif. And then it is stated by Sumarni, Fauzan, More, and Patak in 2018 that English is vocational high school is categorized as English for specific purposes, or ESP. Therefore, according to Hutchinson and Waters, English for specific purpose is an approach to to language teaching where content and methods rely heavily on learners' needs and interests. Because the vocational high school students are prepared to get their job, of course, relating to their major, so the English learned at vocational high school should be related to their interests and needs. Unfortunately, the fact shows that the materials provided for vocational high school students are the same as for the senior high school student. As we see the book, it is an example of the book used by the vocational high school students and also the senior high school students. It is written for SMA, MA, SMK, and MAK. Although, as I mentioned before, that the senior high school students material and the vocational high school students material must be different, should have been different. And the subject learned in high school are not unique. As I have mentioned before that the students in senior high school learned all subjects, not to specific major. They earn all language skills and components of the language. However, students in SMK or vocational secondary school may need specific subjects. English materials in high school are to help students to write and speak English according to their future jobs or interests. Therefore, the materials given to the students in vocational high school is necessary to be distinct to what is learned by the senior high school students. Well, if applying general English to vocational high school, it is thought to be inappropriate because the English content they need needs to suit their needs and interests. Therefore, what do we need to do in order to prepare or provide the specific materials that are needed by the students in vocational high school? So how to fulfill the needs of the students of vocational high school? One of the ways is by conducting a needs analysis. By knowing the needs analysis, by conducting a needs analysis, we will know the needs of the students in learning English. What materials they actually need, what skill that they really need in relation to the needs and interests. The need of students in English language learning in a specific field can be covered through this needs analysis, as Richard in 2001 stated, which required the analysis employed to develop the objectives and contents. Needs analysis is also useful to evaluate the existing programs. This analysis can also be done to evaluate the textbook or the materials that are already learned or that are provided for the students now, whether it really suits their needs or no. And an effective language learning can be achieved if teachers are aware of the needs of the students based on the need, ability, potential, and preference in meeting the needs. From these 3 points, we can conclude that the English in vocational high school needed to be analyzed in order to know what actually they need. Right. How to conduct a needs analysis? Let's see from this perspectives about the needs analysis. Research in 2001 says that the procedures used to gather information about the needs analysis needs of the students is known as needs analysis. So it is the procedure to gather information about the needs of the students. Needs analysis is defined as how should foreign language student as foreign language learner be expected to do in the target scenario, and how students can better master the target language during the training period. In needs analysis, there are some questions to be answered, including what and why, when, who, for whom, how, and how long. These are the questions to be answered when we conduct a needs analysis. Research in 2001 also states that students' needs in English for specific purposes are described in terms of performance, in terms of a linguistic deficiency, and as describing the difference between what then learner can presently do in English language. What are are the areas of the needs analysis that can be conducted? So if we see from the Dudley and St. John, as cited in Ottilia in 2015, mentioned 5 areas of needs analysis. Includes the target situation, linguistic discourse genre analysis, subjective needs analysis, present situation analysis for the purpose, and a means analysis. These are some analysis that some areas of the needs analysis means that when we do a needs analysis, we can focus on one of this area. Well, referring to the what actually the vocational high school student needs in English learning, so I take some results of the prior research regarding the vocational high school needs in English learning. So firstly, the topic of the materials in each skill must be related to their major. This is the result of Rahamdina et al. In 2019. She conducted a needs analysis for vocational high school students. And also, another opinion is given by Cahyati. Students need them to be specifically focused on the department itself. When we look at from these two results, we can say that the English, the needs of the students in different major may be different. It is also stated that the students need some materials related to the major of the study. And then the syllabi, material selection, and the English language instruction to be implemented in the classroom must accommodate all of the learners' needs that are greatly needed for their future careers so that they will experience good academic atmosphere. So what can we conclude from these results? Then we can conclude 2 points, 2 big points from the results of the studies. So the English materials taught in vocational high school must be, the first one, it needs to be related to the major of the students. And it must be useful for their future careers. As what have been mentioned earlier, that the students in vocational high school are prepared to work ready. What are actually needed for students in some different major of vocational high school? So I take some results of the research here. That the first one, it is about the tourism program. Well, it is stated that the needs of students in tourism program is in the speaking skill, pronunciation, for the language skills and components. And the components of the language, they will lead media, videos, image, asking questions about teaching techniques. So these are the needs of the students in tourism program. It is different from what we have in tour and travel. Although it is this, they have the same skill as tour and travel and tourism program are a bit similar, so they both need the speaking skill to be prioritized in that English subject. Meanwhile, for the students in culinary art, they need reading more rather than speaking, especially in procedure tasks. As you know, that the culinary art students are expected to be a good cook when they graduate from the vocational high school. And then, what about the hospitality students? The most important skill selected learned by hospitality students is speaking, then writing, reading, and listening skills. And they need the functional language, which includes using telephone, giving and receiving guests, dealing guest requests, describing hotel facilities, asking for repeats, responding to guest complaints, and offering help. It is more specific to the language, functional language like this. Means that the students in different major in vocational high school may not have the same needs. Therefore, what are actually needed by students are related to their workforce. So there are some results to be quoted here: English materials and the needs of workforce. The needs of the students toward learning English is to meet the academic progression and the future needs of the students, which involve the skills of the language and some of the language components. As mentioned earlier, that the students from different major may have different needs. Listening and speaking skills are two prioritized skills needed. It is based on the results of Rahamdina that majorly the students of different she conducted a study related to the tour and travel and tourism. So this is more prioritized to listening and speaking skills. And then the three most relevant functions in using English in language in tourism industry were giving information, followed by providing service and offering help. This is what they need in the tourism industry. So as we can match with the needs of the students in tourism major, that they really need speaking in their English subject to be implemented later when they graduated from this vocational high school and they are ready with that English that they have got in their high school. Therefore, English material and skills needed by the students in vocational high school are the ones they need in the industry in line with their major. Just like what it is mentioned in the tourism industry and the need of the students of the tourism major itself. So what I can conclude here from the results of the studies, the empirical research is that the English materials to be taught in vocational high school is categorized as English for specific purpose. Why? Because the students with different major, of course, they have different needs and interests. Therefore, the English in vocational high school are not categorized as general English, but it is categorized to English for specific purpose. An ESP is an approach to language teaching where contents and methods rely heavily on the learner's needs and interests, and analyzing the needs of the students are an essential thing to be done. Well, I can recommend here to the future researchers to English to say that I can say that English is necessary subject to master nowadays, and therefore providing the materials needed by the students are really essential because the teachers are encouraged, not only the teachers of vocational high school, but all teachers need to know what actually their student needs. Furthermore, the development of the materials is the next step to be done after analyzing the needs. So after getting the information about the students' needs, the next step is developing an appropriate material to be delivered to the students so that the needs of the students in English learning will be fulfilled. Well, I think that's enough for my presentation today. Thank you very much for all for your attention, and I thank you to the moderator, and I give it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for Sinta for sharing the ideas related to the importance of needs analysis. And I agree that before we conduct an analysis, we have to analyze first the student needs in English learning. All right. I want to remind again, if you have questions for the presenters, you may type questions in the Q&A box. And do not forget to fill out the attendance form in the check box. Then, let me introduce you the last presenter of the fourth session. She is Wahyuni S.Pd. She will discuss Android-based assessment for tourism vocational high school need analysis. For Wahyuni, the Zoom floor is yours.
Well, thank you for Riza Yoga Indriani for the moderator. Okay, can you see my screen?
Sure, Ummy. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ummy Wahyuni from English Education graduate students of Teacher Training and Education Faculty of Sriwijaya University. Okay, thank you very much, moderator, for the chance for me to deliver my topic today. Today, I want to deliver one interesting topic with the title Android-based assessment for tourism majoring vocational high school need analysis. Okay, before we go so far, I would like to ask you first, is Android application important for human life? Yeah, to answer this question, let's find out through this presentation. Well, this is the outline of my discussion today. The first one is introduction. The second one, vocational high school, and then the needs of teachers and students in learning English in vocational high school. Okay, then why Android application is important to support the support learning process for vocational high school students, and then the characteristic in developing Android application to support English self-assessed learning in vocational high school, conclusion, and the last reference. Well, nowadays, Revolution Industry 4.0 demanded the changing in all aspects of life. Almost in all aspects of life, human needs transform into digitalization. According to Hanafizadeh, Genci, and Asgarimer 2017. Nowadays, as we know, we are in 21st century era, or we call digital era. People do all things easily. The world is obsessed with doing anything quickly, including learning. National Education Ministry Regulation of Indonesia number 20 years 2016 explained that the grades of vocational high school should have skills that support their career. It means that at vocational high school, in reach that goal, teaching English is not only as a school subject, but also teaching English should teaching the skills that require content knowledge based on their students majoring and the need of industry in the workplace. It is the vocational high school challenge. According to OECD 2011, the vocational challenge in global economic competition increasingly requires countries to compete on the quality of goods and services. In addition, of OECD 2017 stated that the countries can gain comparative advantages in industries if countries' skill characteristics are closely aligned with the industry's requirement. Furthermore, teaching English in vocational high school is different from teaching English in high school students. The orientation of vocational high school is to prepare the student to be able to take part in working world and business. According to Hutchinson and Waters, 1987, stated that English used in speaking and writing differ from one context to another, should cover the needs in each of those departments. Here, the aim of teaching of English in vocational high school should focus on preparing the student to have specific skill to compete in the workplace. Unfortunately, the material are presented in vocational high school has not filled the students' need based on the background of their department yet. And then, as stated by Sinta last presenter, the textbooks of the material of textbooks is not fully related with the student needs to support their department. The material is not totally discussed about their major. And then the textbook used doesn't cover the material needed in the syllabus. In short, the material used is still general English rather than English for tourism majoring at vocational high school. What are the needs of teacher and student in learning English? The application would help the teacher as a learning assistant while teacher were not around. Besides, the application would help the teacher on conducting the assessment. Teacher need the personal assistant to help them by the presence of the technology. Smartphone might help them to provide the learning material so the student could access it anytime, anywhere, when the teacher were not around. And then students needed help to support them in learning English to improve the learning material, which could help students to learn and find the meaning of new vocabularies to support them understanding the text type. Okay, next, it is the question, why Android application? Why should Android application? According Purbasari et al. 2019, Android application can be one of the alternative solutions to facilitate students' self-assessed learning. The student can conduct the assessment by themselves and by the help of the application, and it of course will ease the teacher task too. By using Android application as one of the multimedia to facilitate student in English self-assessed learning, promote student motivation and learning interest because they can learn in fun way, not traditional with the textbook instead. Okay, with the time limitation for English subject at school, they have 4.45 minutes every week. It's very limited for teacher and student to for the teacher deliver the material and for the students to assess them to assess the task from the teacher. So student can use the Android application to have assessment and evaluation by themselves at home. Next, the use of Android application. According to Ahkatani and Muhammad 2015, the use of Android application in English learning is to facilitate the student in self-assessed learning support learning assess learning to support learning style in 21st century, and it needs to be developed to adjust with the need of the students, teacher, and the subject of the study at school. Self-assessed learning at home would be more controlled by using application. Self-assessed learning too can support by technology. Support by technology, it's more useful for students. It can be easy adapted and existent will support teaching learning process at home. Next, developing Android application to support English self-assessed learning. The development of Android application as a learning media to learn English text type and the feature to help self-assessed learning will help both student and teacher in conducting English learning process and assessment. Here, the development of Android application can help for student and teacher in conducting English learning process and assessment. Here are the characteristics of Android application that should be developed to support learning assessment. According to Purbasari, Suryani, and Ardianto, 2019, the characteristic of Android application that should be developed are: first, the application can be run in Android smartphone, and then it loads English material based on their measuring. It is integrated with online dictionary to help the student find the new vocabulary easily. It contains the student's report for daily assessment. And the last, there is an answer key available and also discussion for answer question. Okay, here are the empirical research that are reviewed. It is the first one from Purbasari, Suryani, and Ardianto, 2019. The result of the study stated that the students are ready to use Android application as a learning media on their smartphone to facilitate English self-assessed learning. And then from Rahabdina, Rahab, and Sofyan 2019 stated that speaking skill was the most prioritized skill for the tour and travel department, followed by listening, reading, and writing skill. According to Mahtub 2018, the students have different perception of their necessities, wants, and lacks. And then the last, Margareta, Safnil, and Koto, 2017, online ICT media rather than offline ICT media were preferred by high school students in South Bengkulu in learning reading. From the empirical research that I review, I have the central argument that teachers and students need to develop Android application to support English assist learning. And students in vocational high school need to develop their skill based on their study program by using ICT learning. From the literature review and some empirical research, I can conclude that through the need analysis gaps, Android application can support the English learning in vocational high schools, focus on preparing the students to have specific skill by self-assessed learning based on their study program, which can conduct assessment anywhere accessible by themselves so they can prepare themselves with good skills in order to compete later in the workplace. These are the references. Okay, I think that's all for my presentation today. Thank you very much for your attention, and let me bring back to moderator.
Okay, thank you so much for Ummy and all presenters that have already presented in this webinar. Your presentations are very well. So, as presentation previously, I believe that ICT is very crucial element in this 21st century, especially for conducting and developing with analysis. For example, Android itself and other applications to support learning and teaching process in the vocational high school. Okay, for participants, do not forget to fill out the attendance form in the chat box, and the feedback link will be shared at the end of presentation. Then you can get a certificate a week after the webinar. So keep staying with us until the end of presentation. Okay, if you have suggestions or recommendation to this webinar or future webinar, please type in Q&A box. Thank you so much. All right, now it's time to continue our presentation to question and answer sessions related to the first, second, third, and fourth topic. So for the committees, if you have the questions on the screen, please show us. Okay, let's start for the first presenter. This is for Praisa Jopalina S.Pd from Karwandi. So the question is, we know that teaching at vocational school especially consists of a lot of boys who have a little motivation in reading. So what should we do to motivate them interested in reading materials? Who are going to give? Okay, thank you. So for Praisa Jopalina, please respond this question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the moderator. So I'll try to answer the question from Karwandi. The question is, I would like to ask, as you know, teaching vocational high school especially consists of a lot of boys. Okay, I know that the majority students in vocational high school are boys. especially for the technique majors such as like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, multimedia, or computer networking, and many more. And how about if the students are lack motivate are lack in reading, okay, motivation in read something. So I have told about how the way we as a teacher to provide the good material for the students. So that's why they are not I think that it I think that we have to provide good materials for the students to make them interesting in learning process. So for example, because I have the experience that because I teach in vocational high school, so I have an experience when I provide the materials for my students in vocational high school. So I give you the example. When I teach my multimedia students, I provide the new materials, or I develop new materials for my students. In this case, how the way we make an invitation cards. So how do we make an invitation card here related to the multimedia major? So they can use the Photoshop, they can use their laptop, so they are interesting. And also they are motivated to read the reading text that given by the teachers. And also yeah, I think that's my answer to Karwandi's questions. I think that's all for moderator.
Okay, thank you for Praisa Jopalina. It's a great answer for Karwandi. Okay, next we move to the second question. It is for Anisa Rhahima, S.Pd, from Tamara. She is student of CTS Untri. So the question is, if you have a chance to make a textbook, how could you make a textbook to ESL students nowadays which integrating to the 21st century skills? Thank you. Okay, for Anisa Rhahima, please.
Okay, thank you for the questions for Tamara. Okay, actually, I'm going to develop the materials for the vocational high school students, of course, with the framework of needs analysis, and also use or integrating with the 21st century skills. Not only the skills, but here I also will integrate the 21st century technology, because I also found that Balintang and Wilang 2020 found that integration of QR code as one of the technologies used in the classroom for higher level of the students, especially in EFL classroom, could be the favorable attributes that help increase the other variables and give the positive effect to the students. That's why I'm going to integrate the QR codes in my textbook later on. That's what I'm going to do. Thank you, Riza.
Okay, thank you for Anisa Rhahima for the answering question from Tamara.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we can move to the third question. Okay. It is to Sinta Octaviana S.Pd from Gayerini Maretika Noto. So the question is, dear Miss Sinta, in your slide PPT, you share about learning English for vocational high school is related with their needs or purposes. As we know, Vocational school will learn different type of English, or she means their English learning is based on the program such as tourism program. We learn English for tourism. Some students are still lack of English skills such as in speaking and also writing. So what are our strategies or method as a teacher to make the students can also follow the lesson easily? Okay, so for Sinta, time is yours.
Right, thank you very much to Gaireni for the question. It is very interesting when we talk about um, the students' lack of English skill. And then what strategies that or methods that the teachers need to do in order to make the students follow the lesson easily. The key answer when we talk about the students' lack of interest or a lack of skill, in order to build their skill or growing their skill, we need to give them motivation, because as we know that the theory of motivation from Maslow, it is stated that the motivation there is a motivation refers to psychological processes that stimulate excitement and persistence of voluntary actions aimed at the same goal. So, if the students have high motivation in learning, it will make them happily follow our lessons. Then, how to build their motivation? That's why we conduct the needs analysis so that we will know what the students are interested in. And digging in their interest, we can include or integrate their interest into our learning materials that will make them motivated. A good motivation are proven, right? Some research already proved that the motivation has a good impact in the result of their learning. So, by growing their motivation by relating the interest into our learning materials, it is one of the good way, one of the best way actually to improve the students' English skill. So that's what I can share here. Thank you for the questions, Karen.
Okay, thank you, Sinta, for the great presentation and answer. Okay, let's move to the last question for committees. Could you share the last question for Ummy? So we can know and answer the question. Okay. Okay, for the committees, if you if you have if you are ready to share the screen. Okay, I will remind the participants first. If you if you have not filled out the attendance form, please fill out now, and e-certificate will send to your email a week after the webinar. Okay, this is from Bila Natasha, YouTube viewer, to Ummy Wahyuni S.Pd. So the question is, if we use Android app for learning, there will of course be negative impact too. How do we handle that? Okay, please Ummy Wahyuni. Ummy?
Okay, the question, if we use Android application for learning, there will of course be negative impact too. How do we handle that? Okay, thank you for the question from Bila Natasha. It's good question for me. Yeah. There are so many positive and negative. There are positive and negative impact in learning by using Android application, especially right now in the pandemic COVID-19. We should learn at home. Yeah, the students should learn at home, and they use their smartphone. Yeah, there are some negative impact for them. They focus to their smartphone, but how do we handle the negative impact? Um, the government asks the parents to assist students in the learning process at home, so it can be minimized the negative impact for learning, because in the smartphone there are so many negative content, right? As we know, the government have limited the content, then the content should appropriate for the students in learning at home. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Umi. Yeah, I believe that the use of application will have benefits and also the barriers, especially for students themselves. So, as a teachers, we have to determine the certain strategies to face and to keep away from the barriers and the challenges itself.
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you, Risa.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I think we have we have we still have time for opening the second session for Q&A session. For the committees, please share screen to the second session of Q&A. Okay, this is from Nabila Tasha to Praisa Jopalina S.Pd. So the question is, can you explain how the way to implement ICT in reading materials for vocational high school? Okay, for Praisa, time is yours.
Okay, the moderator. Thank you very much. And thank you very much also to Nabila Tasha for the questions. The question is, can you explain how the way to implement ICT in reading materials for vocational high school? Here, how the way we implement ICT in reading materials for vocational high school is, okay, I give you the example. When we want to teach one of the study program in vocational high school, I give the example a marketing study program. So how the way the teacher implement ICT in delivering the reading materials in that study program. So we have to see the basic competence first. If we want to explain about the descriptive text, we have to provide the reading materials that related to the descriptive text. So it's follow the rules of the basic competence. So we have to provide that the reading materials that related to the marketing study program. So for example, descriptive text, I give you the example, we have to describe about the historical places or foods or things and something, that's all. So the students can know about the traditional foods and also the things, and how do we implement the ICT. So when we talk about the marketing, it means that they have to market their products. So that's the skill, that's the competency skills for the marketing study program. So they have to product or they have to promote their product. So when we give or provide the reading materials, for example, traditional foods from our own culture, they will use the information or the knowledge to promote that product. For example, they can use the ICT, for example, online learning, online application. As we know that online shopping and like Shopee, Tokopedia, something, that's also we can the students can promote the product to the online applications. So that's why the teacher implement the ICT in reading materials for vocational high school students. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you for Praisa Jopalina. Okay, let's move to the second question. Okay, it is from Fatima S.Pd MPD. The question is for Anisa Rhahima S.Pd. So the question is, relating to English teaching material for vocational schools, she does realize that there are many weaknesses in teaching books. So do you have suggestions? So what teachers to should overcome it? Thank you. Okay, for Anisa.
Okay. Thank you, Riza, for reading it. Okay, thank you, Fatima, for asking that questions. Actually, what we have to do as the teachers to overcome or over to overcome the weaknesses in our textbook is to analyzing or do analyzing or evaluation for the textbook itself. Actually, there are so many evaluation criteria created by the expert, of course, such as Tomlinson. And Tomlinson suggests that everything that used to help teaching language learners is the learn material in language learners. The use of textbook for students should be contains learning materials that's suitable for the learner's needs. That's why to overcome the weaknesses of the textbooks, we need to evaluate first our textbooks, and then we can develop the supplementary books or also the materials that's suitable or fulfill the needs of the students. Hope it answered the questions to Fatima. Thank you, Riza.
Thank you, Anisa. We hope the question, the response and answer from Anisa can answer your question. Okay, thank you, Anisa. Let's move to next question. Is there any question? Okay, for committees, please share screen to know the questions related to this webinar. Okay, it's from Erna to Ummy. The question is, we know that the use of Android is very good to help in the course of learning, especially with the development in Android applications. However, not all of the students have the facilities of the Android. And how do you think about it? Yeah. Okay. From Ummy. Ummy, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for Erna for the question. Erna's question, as we know that use of Android is very good to help in course, especially with development Android. However, not all of the students have the facilities of Android. Okay, how do you think about it? Okay, as we know, technology or smartphone right now is not the it's not what I mean. It's not technologies is a ready-made item for people. It is the needed for the all people in the around the world. Yeah. But sometimes there are still poor students from the financial from the poor financially people, yeah, still have no the facilities like smartphone. Not all students are financially capable. There are still students who do not have Android to support their learning. And then I think the student can can study by group. Maybe they can go to their neighbor or friends and do the study together, and then they can borrow the smartphone from relatives or the siblings. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Ummy for the explanation. Yeah, so I think there will be challenges, and there is, especially when students are living in the rural area. So I think it will be difficult for students to get a good facility. Okay, thank you very much for the participants who have asked the questions for the presenters. Even though we have not enough to answer all questions from the participants. But there is a suggestion from our participants, which is from Ibu Artanti Puspitasari, that she said that it will be helpful if the presenters also provide the list of references of the works they cite in the presentation. The list may be very helpful for those who are interested in conducting research related to the topics being presented. So for further presenters, can apply this great suggestion in order to share the list of references for everyone who is interested in the need analysis. Thank you very much from Bu Artanti. So I really appreciate all the presenters who have shared their ideas, knowledges, and experiences regarding the need assessment. So do not forget for the participants to fill out the certificate in the form of a feedback, in the form of feedback, yeah, I mean in your chat box. And the committees, please screen the feedback link to get your e-certificate later. For committees, can share the link of feedback form. So I am Vijaya Indriani as the moderator, very grateful for all participants' attendance and active participation to questions. Unfortunately, we have not enough time to answer all questions. Thank you so much for all participants for staying with us. And I hand it back to Rizky as the host. For Rizky, the Zoom floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much to our moderator, Rizaya Indriani, S.Pd, and all the 4 presenters for today, Ummy Wahyuni, S.Pd, Anisa Rhahima, S.Pd, and then Sinta Octaviana, S.Pd, and Praisa Jopalina, S.Pd, GR. Sadly, we have come to the end of today's webinar, but don't worry, and also I would like to inform all the attendees today that we are going to have 3 more webinars coming for tomorrow, Tuesday, and also the last one will be Wednesday. So you are all invited to participate in our upcoming webinar. Don't forget to register, and you can see the information on the flyers that we have shared. And we have also those flyers on our social media. Okay, so I think the committee can share the social media of SRS-TEFLIN so our attendees can follow and get the information on our social media. So we have our Facebook page at SRS-TEFLIN official, and then in Instagram at the same at SRS-TEFLIN official. Join our Telegram in SRS-TEFLIN official, and then to see the last presentations, the last webinar, the one that we had yesterday and the one that we have today, you may subscribe our YouTube channel in SRS-TEFLIN channel. All right, so again, I would like to thank every one of the attendee for spending the precious time for coming to our webinars today, and also thank you to all presenters. Congratulations for your presentation today. You did great, guys. All right. So don't forget, keep being updated to our event. And I think I'm going to close it. I'm going to close the webinar today. Thank you very much. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
All the committee can stay here for picture, possibly, if that's possible. All the presenters, you guys can turn on your camera and maybe take it. Yeah, the PowerPoint should be taken down for now, so we can have a group picture. Okay, Harley, if you like your picture, turn on your camera. Sinta.
Sinta.
Go ahead. Okay, Sinta. Praisa, Anisa, Preti. Are you guys ready for pictures?
Wait, ma'am. Wait for Nimas, ma'am.
Okay.
Mas. Galak nih yang nempel-nempel.
Praisa, where are you? Already gone.
Ini Praisa.
No, the picture. I can see her picture in there. And Preti, Sinta. Okay, anyway, I'm going to take the pictures. Whoever is there. Okay, Praisa is here. Sinta, Preti.
Sinta is here too, Bu. Sinta and Nimas are together, Bu.
Together? But I see Sinta's camera is off on there.
Sinta.
We cannot see you. Yeah. Harley, Preti.
Sinta, mana Sinta?
We cannot see you, Nimas. So, yeah, I have Harley, but not Sinta. Preti is
Sinta
not
ini
there.
ada.
Ada Sinta masuk sini, Sinta.
Ada Sinta, ada. Ini kan Sinta.
Coba.
Okay, Sinta. Okay, they're actually together now. Okay. Okay, I think we got the picture except for Preti. All right, thank you guys. I'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congratulations, yeah, for everybody.
Congratulations, and we'll meet again tomorrow.
You're great.
Bye.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ami, Hari.
Bye, Bu Rita.
Iya, sampai jumpa ya.
Terima kasih banyak, Bu Rita.
Sama-sama, Ibu.
Oke, ketemu lagi besok.
Ketemu lagi besok.
Bye.
Till 3 days more. Ya. Besok pakai baju baru lagi ya.
Penting yang kelihatan. Tidak perlu pakai baju baru, Mem. Pakai kaos dalam juga tidak apa-apa nih.
Celana pendek.
Oke, see you.
Ampun,
See you.
Mana
See you, Pak Sony.
Oke.
Nyimas.
Mereka mengungsi di rumah Nyimas, Bu.
Tapi kalau di Zoom seperti Nyimas yang ngungsi ke mereka ya, sih.
Iya, benar. Oke, ini need assessment ya, needs assessment.
Ini orang lain bisa dengar nggak nih?
Oh ya, besok itu kita ini mana Sari tadi? Sari
Bisa, Pak, yang
udah
lain.
out ya. Oh, kami pengen juga dong yang kayak gini latar belakangnya.
Iya, itu Pak, coba di bawah yang stop
Pak
video.
Sony, saya dengan Ibu Sari.
Bentar.
Nah, aku udah ngerti aku caranya.
Nanti kalau Memuze mau nanti Ica buatin. Ada nama
Ya,
Memuze.
buatin aja Ica. Ya. Buatin yang kayak gini ya.
Ya.
Kayak kamu itu.
Oke, bagaimana buatnya itu?
Kita
Buat
seragam
latar
nanti
belakang
ya.
Teflin itu.
yang buat Mbak Ica yang buat.
Iya, nanti coba buatin.
Biarlah Ica saja
Buat
Pak
FKIP.
Sony yang bikin.
Iya.
Punya Sari juga ya.
Bisa dari itu.
Cara
jadi
menampilkannya
ini
itu loh gimana?
Ini
Caranya
bagus ini, udah.
nyimas yang ngasih tahu.
Lambang video yang di bawah yang ada baca stop video sebelah kiri itu Pak ya. Nah, terus ada panah Pak di situ.
Stop video ini. Oke.
Stop video tapi ada panahnya, itu panahnya.
Ada terus virtual background ini bukan?
Virtual, ya, virtual background itu Pak.
Oke, terus apa lagi?
Nanti muncul ada di bagian sebelah kanan kecil tanda plus Pak untuk
Kirim dulu ya ke Pak Sony itunya.
Begitu.
Foto backgroundnya.
Pantes.
Iya. Jadi nanti kalau misalnya kirim foto backgroundnya Bapak save dulu
Memang
Pak.
agak susah nih jadi baby boomers ini ya. Terus ini. Ada yang di pantai orang ya di Palembang kok pantai bergerak-gerak, gimana caranya?
Iya. Apa
Berarti
yang
harus disimpan dulu ya. Filenya.
Gambarnya disimpan dulu Pak. Nanti dikirim dulu ke grup BKU ya Pak.
boleh.
Dikirim.
Iya, kirim
Boleh,
dulu dong.
boleh. Tolong kirim dong.
Ya, sebentar Pak. Nanti cek kirim ke grup BKU ya.
Oke.
Oh, udah tuh udah yang kirim.
Ini kan harus belajar kami sama ini.
Nanti kalau mau dibikinin yang buat biasa Pak, buat FKIP bisa Pak. Nanti Ica buatin. Jadi Bapak bisa pakai untuk meeting atau apapun.
Buatlah dua ya.
You aja langsung kirim.
Iya.
Karena
Untung
bunyinya kan
nggak ada Pak Joko
beda-beda.
hari ini ya.
Halo?
Ada pada grogi tuh.
Bunyinya
Ada
kan
Pak Joko
beda-beda.
kemarin grogi.
Kan karena hari ini second SRS-TEFLIN webinar student apa tadi itu mesti ada studentnya kan karena beda. Kemarin kan kita ada 1, 2, 3 sampai berapa ya? Nah, yang sekarang ini kan khusus kalian kan ada kata student webinar.
Bisa boleh.
Biar
Boleh,
tidak
Bu.
rancu dengan yang kemarin Bu.
Iya,
Boleh,
takut.
Bu.
Iya, yang kemarin kan SRS-TEFLIN yang webinar 1, 2, 3. Nah, yang ini jadi rancu. 1, 3, 4, 5. Tidak ada kata graduate student yang distrongkan di situ.
Nah, itu
Iya,
dia.
adanya di bawah sini nih.
Rancu dia.
Adanya di bawah
Teman
sini.
Ada di bawah tapi ketutupan Pak.
Ya, siapa itu
makanya-
tadi?
Makanya
Coba
kemarin kan saya
munculin
tanya.
dulu.
Saya tanya kemarin itu. Ya enggak apa-apa lah disentil dikit orang tua.
Tadi
Nanti
ada-
di atas boleh.
ada-
Di atas ini ditambah ya.
Tadi punya siapa itu? Kan ini ada itunya. Nanti besok itu kan ada apa? Theme khususnya kan?
Betul.
Apa